Okay, so today we're going to talk about the first assignment. Assignment 1, which you can always find the assignment sheet for in the Canvas site under modules, under assignment sheets. And it gives you the written description, and then you can see past student work in the course photo bucket. But here we're looking for a fantasy landscape compositing at least 5 different sources. So first we're going to search for some references. So I have here a folder I've created to capture my references. And it was decided that I should try to find a frozen underwater landscape. So let's see what we get when we just search for images frozen underwater. Now there are lots and lots of them, but the problem is very few of them are appropriate for using with something large enough to be printed. So I'm going to limit my search first to size, and I want larger than 10 megapixels. So that each image independently could be printed at least 8 by 10 inches at full resolution. And I get this really nice shot here. I'm going to open that in a new tab. This is pretty interesting. And I'm not looking for anything that's just finished all on its own. I'm looking for elements that I can combine together. And even though I only need 5 or more, I'm not going to limit my search only to things that only to 5 things. It's always good to have more than you need. Kind of edit down from there. Now the reason I'm control clicking and opening in a new tab is so I can go through these and actually see them up close. Because all too often the image quality, even though it's huge, isn't good enough for what it needs to be. Now you'll notice the photos too, they're all from different angles. Some bones, always nice to have some bones. So I've got a good collection now of things. Maybe a random glacier to throw in there. And now what I want to do is I want to go through each one, view them at full size. So I say view image, then I zoom in to make sure they're in focus. This is a very nice clean shot. And then I'm going to drag them over to my reference folder. Start building my image files this way. Yes, nice clean photos. You'll notice the lighting and the coloring is different in each of these. But that's what we're going to learn to adjust in this project. A nice frozen coastline here. Now this image quality is not so great. You can kind of see how the ISO was forced up really high in this image, so you have a lot of fluorescent colors in the pixels, a lot of noise. So I might be able to use it, but I might have to alter it quite a bit. I'm not sure about this one. It's too bright, doesn't look frozen enough, so sometimes you'll look at it a second time and then just decide you don't need it. I like this one for maybe the horizon, some textural effects, and if it's the ice age, maybe there are geysers, sulfur. Now this one isn't frozen at all, but I like these shapes of underwater terrain, and maybe I'll do another search of underwater terrain. And if I take the color out and play with it, I think I can make it look frozen. Right now I'm just getting the raw materials, getting inspired. I definitely want to use these bones. Those are beautiful. Very interesting. Now this image, yeah, it's okay. So in going through, Now I'm going to open up my folder. I might minimize my search. And I have 9 different images here. What I'm going to do is go up to my my window settings and show view options and make my icons nice and big so I can see them all on the screen together at the largest size possible. All right. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sketch in my sketchbook, or in this case I'll use Photoshop. And I'm going to create a new image. We'll call it Landscape Sketch. I'm going to sweep it out so I can work on it on the side here. And I'm just going to draw I'll use a stylus. And I'm just going to draw using a really simple brush tool. It's quite small, fairly hard-edged. And this is what I want you to draw in your sketchbooks, looking at your reference. So pretend this is a page of my sketchbook. I'm going to draw one box that's landscape format, meaning it's wider than it is tall, and one that is portrait format, taller than it is wide. Now I see the bones here, and I'm going to start designing how my elements are going to come together. So I really like those bones. I'm thinking I'm going to use those right here. So I'm going to draw that piece and make a little note. They look like whale bones. And then I like this cliff here for my prehistoric ice age. Maybe I put that back in this area. And now I have my different references here. I have to figure out things that kind of fill in and make them all work together. That's why you need lots of elements. I like this frozen lake, you know, with the broken up pieces of ice and kind of the opening. So maybe that's right here. I like this bizarre thing here. Maybe that fits into this background. Almost looks like a bridge, maybe evidence of a lost civilization that's frozen. I'll call it a bridge. So now I have 4 elements. I'm going to need sky that kind of works over everything. Or I can try to put all of this underwater and use kind of this as the sky. And maybe I want this plume in the background. And maybe this underwater opening. So I'm going to try to put it all underwater. So let me see. I'll say this is the underwater frame. And I'll call this other thing, oops, what happened? I'll call it a sulfur plume. So that's the surface of the water up here that we're looking through. And then this is going to be my sulfur plume. The sketch does not need to be very good. In fact, I'll show you with red how many students choose to do it. And I'll do it on a new layer just to be safe. But they might say, okay, this This shape right here, that's number 1. Those are the whale bones. This shape right here, that's number 2, and that's the cliff. This shape right here, that's the frozen lake. That's number 3. This shape right here, that's the bridge, that's number 4. This shape right here, that's the plume, that's number 5. And this shape in the background here, that's number 6. So you have at least 5. Okay, going back to my original layer, I am now going to try to use these elements in a portrait format, and I'm not able to do it the same way. So for this, for instance, I might use this little glacier. Whoops, let me change my color here. And it's floating on water, right? And then I might use the frozen lake in front of it. Then I might use, let's see, this thing, that mountain ridge and that floating ice flow back there. It's a third element. And I might use maybe the bones in the background here. So they'll be just huge, huge bones. Be hard to tell how big. And then I'm going to use the clouds, and maybe this is kind of a soaring cliff and clouds from another one. So you can use different references in all the different places. All right, once I have my sketch, I also have a sense of what more reference I might need. So I think I need more kind of underwater stuff if I'm going to go with this idea. So I go back to my search, and I change my search parameters a little bit. Kind of curious about what an underwater waterfall looks like. Remember my search tools, I need them to be larger than 10 megapixels. This kind of thing, now that I kind of know what I'm doing, these plumes and textures, especially this kind of blurry texture, might really help me. And the more generic you make your search terms, the more hits you'll get, but you might have to look longer and further. Underwater is a lot of fun because it has so many possibilities. Has its own type of lighting, its own type of color palette. That's a pretty nice one. It also doesn't work to only combine little details together. You need some kind of big, more expansive pieces that can go in the background. So that's what I'm just trying to find here. That suggest lighting. Some nice texture. Can fit in a frozen landscape. All right, so now I'm going to go through these, decide, do I really want to use that? No, I don't think so. But this could be helpful. This, it's beautiful. Do I really want to use it? I'd have to, doesn't really fit into my vision. But this might. Okay, and so by doing this, I'm going to end up with all the reference I need to do my project. And the next demo will put it all together.